Good morning, everybody. Jack Listen with StartupTrading.com. It is 9:14 here on the 23rd of April, and I'm going to start off with just the most aggressive anchors of which Perry was referring to that he likes to watch to see whether we break or not. I'm going to show you guys what those are and how we got there because they're trading right now, basically. And usually when this setup happens, when we're super aggressive into the open. We'll hold it at least once to target, then sometimes we come down and break the same anchor new high. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I've seen that plenty of times. But anyway, yesterday, really, guys, we have really technical markets right now. I think these overnight trends, I've been more focused on the overnight trends the last couple days because it's like, in my opinion, they're a little easier when you get these big moves because basically once you trade one of those entries, we simply do not revisit it until maybe the next morning. Even if you go back and look at yesterday's price action, those entries right out of 6 o'clock, the open, those entries never come back. But if you start trading, let's say if you started trading at the open, really the first extension I would have even considered, and it would have been aggressive at the time, would have been that 950 entry. And then the second one would have been the 1015, and then this was all basically the same anchor, and then the 1140. They all basically all came back. I mean, still plenty of trading to happen, and it was great, but they ended up retesting. Not really a trade you can continue to hold, but in the overnight session, you can continue to hold these. So we ended up, I think Trump tweeted. A couple things are going on today. Scott Bassett is Treasury Secretary. They're pumping the brakes, which honestly, that was my anticipation. Trump is not the type of person who will see the market go down if he believes he can have anything to do with it. And also, it seemed like probably there was a bigger reaction. I was reading about like exports. Not that I'm a huge fundamental guy or really understand it all in depth like some of the experts, but I do read some of the stuff really out of education and just infotainment. But so they're reversing their policy at least some bit. I mean, I still think the market's got a whole lot of volatility left in this. We're not out of the woodwork by any means. But the extension here, on the back of that news, we gap up, we go through targets, and we open at the prior day's high to high. We trade it basically right as we open, make a new high, sweep, and then come back down, retest, and then we've been moving higher ever since. Now this retest has completed its target. Okay, and by retest, all we did is, the market has a tendency to do this. We'll take out highs, and then we'll revert back to the bottom of liquidity. We'll take out lows, and then we'll revert back to the top of liquidity. But now the extension begins from the 6 o'clock open to high, and we just traded that 38% retracement. Everything above this is bullish. Okay, everything above this is bullish at this point in time, and I'm thinking we may probably get up into the negative 100 here of the draw that traded at like 2 o'clock before really getting over our heads in longs, and that's at 19,080. And we could, when we trade that, we'll have all of these will be variations of anchors that we could end up pulling back into. But I would just be very careful to short anywhere unless we break. Even if we break this extension, I think the next setup is long. It's just going to be lower. If we move all the way up above like 19,100, I think it's possible, that we set up for shorts. Okay, that is a possibility. But this extension is what you're going to want to pay attention to. Now, we can probably rally all the way up into, remember, we came out of on Monday. That was the full halfway back long. That upside target is 20,077. I think we're going to complete it. And I bet that the completion of that target, similar to the original sell-off when Trump announced the tariffs on Liberation Day, every single high that day prior to the announcement was a profit target. So it'll be interesting when we eventually do complete that 20,077 that could lead us all the way up into a much higher time frame sell-off. So just be aware of that. I know I'm getting ahead of myself by talking about it, but it is what it is. Moving on to the S&P 500, same series. You have the prior day's high, too high, off the open. I'm gonna sneeze. Little under the weather. We rally, inverse fair value gap here on the 15-minute. Overtake it, traditionals, picks up speed, and this morning we are running a target. 54.76 is going to be the negative 61 that I would, I think we could maybe get here off the open. The negative 100 equivalent to that NQ level I talked about is 54.85. I would not be surprised at all to see us back at 5,500, maybe even today. I mean, it's only 50 points away, and that is the full halfway back long. I think it's the third test now. Okay, let me just show you this on the daily. Okay, full halfway back short. Happened here on the tweet. We basically came up for a second test on the 14th. Third test is gonna go through, and we're gonna go to 56.93s. Yep, that's what we got. So, a couple of other markets that are interesting right here. Gold has officially broken, and I know we were talking about Holby had brought it up to saying he was moving some clients out, and I went over this draw at the time and talked about this 34.90 profit target. We completed that yesterday before the market opened. We have been rolling over since. There is no new extension to extension. That is broken. We are most likely coming, and there's other variations that you could technically use. I'm sure the October highs to highs could have some participation, so I'll be aware of the October high to high, and really just a 50% retracement. That 38 I'm sure will bounce, but I think we'll eventually get the 50, and then this anchor to high as well. I want to see if there's any overlap here. I don't think there's going to be too much overlap. So between like 31,060 to 31,020 is kind of where I am assuming we will eventually go. And right now, we are in, these are big shorts. The gold has gotten huge. The ranges in gold are massive. They're like $10,000 to contract. $10,000 a contract a day. Yesterday's range, more than 10 grand. It was like 13,000 or something a contract, top to bottom. We had a traditional short react, made a new low, next measured move, beautiful setup. Gold has a micro. I think gold is worth trading right now. It's absolutely worth trading. It's extremely technical. It's got a micro contract, and the ranges are huge. On the micro contract, one contract, $1,300 range. Okay, it's a really good opportunity to just trade one contract and make good money. And then CL, this setup here. So we had the contract roll this week, which kind of messes up charts, but the swing low of last Wednesday to high has basically ticked the bottom here, and then we rallied back to the midpoint of the prior day. I can see us kind of just ranging out here in CL between the lower mid, which is 6309, aka right here, and the upper mid. I would not look right now for a move above the upper mid today, but 6420 to 63 basically. But I think this is a little bit of a capitulation here. In oil, if you look at the daily chart or the hourly chart, whatever time frame you want to zoom out on, it's been having higher highs and higher lows. Look, just very clean channel higher here. Higher time frame targets are 65.27s, but very clean channeling higher, and just right back at the bottom of the channel, if you ask me. But we'll see. That 62.66 is very important to continue to hold. But that's going to be it. I'll wrap up this morning's trade plan, share my levels with you guys in the room. Everybody trade safe. We'll see what these indexes do off the open. Like I said, Scott Bassett is giving a press conference. That is going to be a news mover today. I think it's at 11 o'clock. I have to double check, though.